Bum-ba-dum. Alrighty then. Thank you so much for joining me, friends, on this episode of Sunshine Reader and Rose Writer. So, for this month of February, we are celebrating Black History Month, as you probably know. And one of the things I'd like to do is read through God's Trombones by James Weldon Johnson. Today, we'll be reading part 3 called The Prodigal Son. Young man, your arm's too short to box with God. But Jesus spake in a parable, and he said, a certain man had 2 sons. And Jesus didn't give this man a name, but his name is God Almighty. And Jesus didn't call these sons by name, but every young man everywhere is one of these 2 sons. And the younger son said to his father, he said, Father, divide up the property and give me my portion now. And the father, with tears in his eyes, said, Son, don't leave your father's house. But the boy was stubborn in his head and haughty in his heart, and he took his share of his father's goods and went into a far-off country. There comes a time when every young man looks out from his father's house, longing for that far-off country. And the young man journeyed on his way, and he said to himself as he traveled along, This sure is an easy road, nothing like the rough furrows behind my father's plow. Young man, smooth and easy is the road that leads to hell and destruction. Downgrade all the way, the further you travel, the faster you go. No need to trudge and sweat and toil. Just slip and slide and slip and slide till you bang up against the hell's iron gate. And the younger son kept traveling along till at nighttime he came to a city. And the city was bright in the nighttime like day. The streets all crowded with people, brass bands and string bands a-playing, and everywhere the young man turned, there was singing and laughing and dancing. And he stopped a passerby and he said, Tell me, what city is this? And the passerby laughed and said, Well, don't you know? This is Babylon. Babylon, that great city of Babylon. Come on, my friend, go along with me. And the young man joined the crowd. Young man, you're never lonesome in Babylon. You can always join a crowd in Babylon. Young man, you can never be alone in Babylon, alone with your Jesus in Babylon. You can never find a lonesome place to go down on your knees and talk with your God in Babylon. You're always in a crowd in Babylon. And the young man went with his newfound friend and bought himself some brand new clothes. And he spent his days in the drinking dens, swallowing the fires of hell. And he spent his nights in the gambling dens, throwing dice with the devil for his soul. Oh, and he met up with the women of Babylon. Oh, the women of Babylon, dressed in yellow and purple and scarlet, loaded with rings and earrings and bracelets, their lips like a honeycomb dripping with honey, perfumed and sweet-smelling like a jasmine flower. And the jasmine smell of the Babylon woman got in his nostrils and went to his head, and he wasted his substance in riotous living. In the evening, in the black and dark of night, with the sweet-sinning women of Babylon, and they stripped him of his money, and they stripped him of his clothes, and they left him broken ragged in the streets of Babylon. Then the young man joined another crowd, the beggars and lepers of Babylon. And he went to feeding swine, and he was hungrier than the hogs. He got down on his belly in the mire and mud and ate the husks with the hogs. And not a hog was too low to turn up his nose at the man in the mire of Babylon. And then the young man of Babylon came to himself. He came to himself and said, In my father's house are many mansions. Every servant in his house has bread to eat. Every servant in his house has a place to sleep. I will arise and go to my father. And his father saw him afar off, and he ran up the road to meet him. He put clean clothes upon his back and a golden chain around his neck. He made a feast and killed the fatted calf and invited the neighbors in. Oh, sinner. When you're mingling with the crowd in Babylon, drinking the wine in Babylon, running with the women of Babylon, you forget about God and you laugh at death. Today, you've got the strength of a bull in your neck and the strength of a bear in your arms. But some of these days, you'll have a hand-to-hand struggle with a bony death, and death is bound to win. Young man, come away from Babylon, that hell border city of Babylon. Leave the dancing and gambling of Babylon, the wine and whiskey of Babylon, the hot-mouthed women of Babylon. Fall down on your knees and say in your heart, I will arise and go to my Father. And that, my friends, concludes chapter 3 of God's Trombones, the Prodigal Son. So I will be back with you next time. And in the meantime, my friends, please stay safe, smile much, and love so much more. Bye-bye.